Hey guys, Stefan Fischer here from Alloffroad. I hope you guys are well. In this video I give you an overview over the Bluetti AC200L, eine Eierlegende Wollmilchsau. That's a German expression, by the way. Look it up on Google if you want to know what it means. But next to giving you an overview over the AC200L, I will also explain the troubles I had with one of the units I received for testing which failed. And I will also reveal the secret Bluetti product review agreement, which every content creator is supposed to sign, but I did refuse to sign. So stay tuned for that. And I will tell you why quite likely this is the last overview / review of a Bluetti product I will ever make. So you may be wondering why I feature another mobile power bank, and a little bit I'm wondering myself, to be honest, because after the last EcoFlow power bank, which I still use and like and love, I thought I really had enough of it. But my opinion changed a little bit because not that long ago we had actually a 2-day power outage here after the big rains we had in Sydney. And that 2 days I kept my freezer, my fridge and other stuff running with my mobile power banks and my solar panels. So when Bluetti approached me about the AC200L, which is a bigger power bank, I was actually interested having a look at this and have another bigger power bank at home for emergencies. And the second reason is I was also looking for an LFP UPS to put that in front of my computer, and if we have a power outage, that my hard drives and so on don't just shut down. I tried that also with the Jackery, the big Jackery I have, which served me very well during that power outage, but the Jackery is simply too loud to run in an office as a UPS, and the AC200 has a silent mode and also only 30 milliseconds switchover time. So that's the reasons why I decided to give another mobile power bank a go. I called it eine Eierlegende Wollmilchsau. Have you looked that up on YouTube, guys? And that is a German term for something which can do a lot of things. So in Australian you would say maybe a jack of all trades. So this is a LiFePO4 battery. It has built-in 2400 watt pure sine wave inverter. It has a built-in MPPT 1200 watt solar controller. It has built-in multiple ports. It has a battery management system. It has the built-in AC charger. So you could really say it is a Eierlegende Wollmilchsau because it does many things all in one compact unit. So let me give you first a bit of an overview over this unit. And by the way, it's not a review because none of these providers really is interested in a review. I feel that a lot of these companies treat content creators like an extended arm of their marketing department, which creates free advertising for them. And that is something I'm vehemently opposed to and certainly not something I will do. And we get into that a bit later when I show you the secret Bluetti product review agreement, which they want content creators to sign. I mean, in a way, I do understand the companies because generally I test a product 6 to 12 months. And with these kind of power banks, usually after a year, they are superseded and replaced with a new unit. So I can understand that companies are not that keen to wait for a year, but quite often they want you to create content within a week or two. And that is really quite unrealistic, you know, because in that time you can't really test a unit. So this is not a review, this is just an overview, even though I did run quite a few tests and encountered one faulty unit, but a long-term review maybe will come after a year or 2 years time if I decide to keep the unit, which I think I will, and I will keep you updated. In particular, if the unit should fail. So if you don't hear about it, quite likely I didn't have any issues about it. The content of this video is based on my honest opinions, personal experiences and my own testing. The product featured in this video was provided free of charge for testing and review purposes. However, this is not a paid review. I strive to provide accurate and truthful information. However, opinions expressed are my own and may not reflect the views of others. Please note that results may vary depending on individual circumstances and usage conditions. Any product, service or company mentioned is not endorsed unless stated otherwise. Viewers should conduct their own research and make decisions based on their own judgment. This video is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as professional advice. The Bluetti AC200L is a 2048 Watt-hour live PO4 portable power station with a 2400 Watt pure sine wave inverter and a 1200 Watt MPPT solar controller. It has an advertised cycle life of 3000 cycles, meaning after 3000 total discharges and recharges, the unit should retain approximately 80% of its original capacity. So if you cycle this unit once per day, it should theoretically last you for over 8 years. But of course, this is just for the cells. We have a lot of other electronics in the unit, which would also need to last for 8 years. The advertised cell cycles are average for the live PO4 cell chemistry. In terms of usable capacity, my test showed it delivers 1640 watt-hours or 131 amp-hours with DC power, slightly less than expected. For instance, the jQuery 2000 Explorer Plus delivered 145 amp-hours with the same advertised capacity. When using the AC output, the Bluetti provided 1765 watt-hours, which is around 147 amp-hours, and that is closer to its advertised capacity. The built-in MPPT solar controller supports up to 1200 watt of solar input and can operate from 12 to 145 volt, which is great. While I could not test such a large solar input personally, my research suggested that there is no issue with that figures. This allows for the use of multiple solar panels in series, suitable for various solar setups, including the use of house panels. Of course, the unit also has a built-in BMS, battery management system, to look after the LFP cells. The unit also has a built-in charger, so you don't need an external charging brick. The Bluetti AC200L also features UPS functionality, ensuring the device remained powered during outages with a switchover time of less than 20 milliseconds. One of the reasons why I decided to test the unit, because I really want to use it as a UPS for my computer. Additionally, it comes with a 5-year warranty. Weighing 28 kg, the AC200 is more suited for a semi-fixed installation in vans or around the home rather than frequent portability. This use aligns with its substantial power output and capacity. However, if you still need a portable unit, say for weekend camping to power your fridge, lights and so on, this is certainly manageable and you may be able to find space in the car for it. The housing of the unit is plastic with 2 sturdy handles on each side. All ports and sockets have a splash cover, however the unit has no IP rating, so I certainly wouldn't leave it out in the rain. Bluetti changed the power cable to a proprietary 3-pin cable, which needs to be screwed onto the unit. I can see this being helpful if you have the unit fixed installed and want to make sure the power cable cannot come loose. However, on the other hand, I found it more annoying when using the unit in different situations and having to connect and disconnect the cable. It also means if the cable fails or you forget it, you won't be able to charge the unit via any regular IC cable like you can do with most other units. The unit is 42 cm wide, 28 cm deep and 30.6 cm high. So let's now have a look at the output ports of the Bluetti AC200L. There is one 12 volt 10 amp cigarette lighter port, and then there is one 84 volt DC 8 amp RV outlet with a proprietary cable and plug, which is not included in the purchase. Personally, I would not know what to use it for and would have preferred two 12 volt cigarette lighter ports. However, I did see that Bluetti sells a DC-DC charger for $339. That's a 40 amp charger and it uses that plug. That's certainly a good option if you want to charge a unit in the car with a higher current. On the USB side, we have two 100 watt USB-C ports with a max of 200 watt combined. and 2 USB-A ports with 18 watt. For the AC side we have 4 230 volt 10.5 amp outlets with a total of 2400 watts. As mentioned, all ports are covered with dust caps, which is good if you use the unit outside. But you should keep in mind that the large air intake for the fans will not be closed and dust can easily enter that way, especially if the unit is running. I could also not find any IP rating for the unit. With a purchase price of 2,800 Australian dollars, the Bluetti AC200L isn't cheap. However, when you consider what you are getting in one portable package, the price starts to make sense, especially if you value convenience. Everything is included except for fast DC charging. Let's break down the cost if you were to build a similar setup using separate components. A Renogy 3000 watt inverter would set you back around $450. A decent quality 150 amp hour LFP battery costs around $1,400. A Victron MPPT 15045 is approximately $750. A Victron 15 amp AC/DC charger is around $250. A Victron battery monitor is around $314. The various included cables and ports could add another $250, not to mention the cost of the installation for the whole setup. Altogether, you're looking at well over $3,300. While you could opt for cheaper components, I haven't even chosen top-tier options for this comparison. On top of that, the AC200L comes with a 5-year warranty, something you wouldn't get for most individual components. Although I personally prefer a built-in LFP setup, as I currently have, I can see the Bluetti AC200L being a worthwhile investment for the occasional camper or someone who needs a system they can easily move between vehicles. While I haven't taken the AC200L on a trip, as it exceeds my additional power needs, I often do carry a mobile power station on extended trips. This allows me to work away from the car and even use it for induction cooking, which I can't do via my 700 watt inverter. Additionally, it's useful around the house during power outages or as a UPS for a home office setup. But at the end, only you can decide whether it's worth it for you. Let's now have a look at the input ports. The proprietary AC cable allows in Australia charging with around 2300 watt, so a little less than the advertised 2400 watt, but still very fast charging. From 0 to 98% fully charged in turbo mode takes only around 1 hour. You have 3 different charging modes: standard, silent and turbo. I in particular value the silent mode because that keeps the unit very quiet. So there is one AC input with 2300 watt max. Then you have the solar input, which again is via proprietary cable, but that is included. It allows 1200 watt maximum input and the voltage range is between 12 and 145 volt. The maximum limit is 15 amp. This means you can put up to 145 watt of solar in series, which will make cable management much easier. The car input from the cigarette lighter is 12 and 24 volt, but it only charges with 100 watt, so it is very slow. If you want to charge the AC200L within a reasonable time frame while in the car, there are a few options available, though all will cost additional money. Option 1. If you already have an inverter in the car, you can charge the unit via AC from the inverter. Easy for me. I've got a Redarc 700 watt inverter and I've got a cable here for it. Let me plug that in. And now my Redarc 150 amp hour alpha battery will now charge here. It doesn't work because it draws too much power, but let me see whether I can actually change here the power draw. I had the same with the EcoFlow, but the EcoFlow I could actually change how much power I draw. So let's see whether that works. I only have a 700 watt inverter, so even in silent charging mode, the power draw of the AC200L trips my inverter. To avoid this, I can go into the advanced settings and reduce the charge current to a desired amperage, in my case 3 amps, and that will work. Option number 2, you can purchase the Bluetti D40 DC-DC charger, which allows you to charge the battery directly from the alternator. However, this charger costs $350 and is fairly bulky. Option number 3, install a Victron Orion 1224-20 non-isolated DC-DC step-up converter. This option allows you to charge with around 300 watt and is also the cheapest solution. The maximum input is 2400 watt, and that is AC and solar input combined. In the middle here you have a screw to attach an earth, and this is the connection plug to add an additional Bluetti unit to the setup. If you purchase a Bluetti D40 DC-DC charger, that is actually plugged in here in the front. I don't have one, so I can't show you how that exactly works, but that's it for all the input ports. Unfortunately, the 100 watt USB-C ports are only output and not input and output, because that would make charging the car much easier, especially if you could use 2 ports and the cigarette lighter port at the same time. Over the past few months, I've put the AC200L through various tests to see how it performed in different scenarios. I used it with my induction cooker and even stressed the unit to see when it would shut down. Surprisingly, it far exceeds the advertised 2400 watt inverter output, and I was able to run up to 3000 watt without any issues. I also tested it with my Bushman Roadie fridge, and it kept the fridge running for 8 days straight. The unit had no trouble powering a range of 220 volt tools, including my drop saw. The UPS functionality worked as expected, with no issues running a sensitive computer and monitor. Charging my mobile devices and drones also went smoothly with no problems at all. When trying to test the UPS feature of the Bluetti, I started to run into problems inside the house where the power would trip. I noticed before that if you have that cable plugged in, and say you do it from the side here, when you actually try to screw it on, because it has a thread here, you can also turn this middle part, which I think really should be turnable. I think there is a design flaw in it, and I'll show you now, especially if you don't look closely. It is actually, with the thing hanging here, it's not that easy to find this turning plug. I think what I did, I turned here, and if you see that here, you can actually turn the whole plug. And at some stage, at least previously, it turned the cable, and I reckon inside that plug you then cross the plus and the minus, and that created a short in the unit. So I don't think that's addressed. Look, I don't want to turn that obviously, but I find it concerning that I can turn that here. And because the cable is plugged in here, I reckon at some stage you twist the cables inside. Look at this, and the ears, and that causes a short. I can't say with certainty that this was the issue, but given that the power cable connects quite differently from any other 220 volt cable, and the middle part, at least in my case, could be rotated when it probably shouldn't have, I believe this was the cause. You could call it user error, but since the power cable is located on the side of the unit, it's easy to try connecting it without looking. So I suggest keeping that in mind. Screw it on. Separate circuit. As you can see here, everything is fine. Now we plug these in, and the second is plugged in, fuse is out. After some troubleshooting at home, it became clear that I needed to send the unit back to Bluetti. While it doesn't happen too often that electronic products I review fail, it sure can happen. However, the way Bluetti handled the situation was quite unsatisfactory, and it's a reason I'm unlikely to review another Bluetti unit. Let me explain. When Bluetti offered me the unit, they wanted me to sign an agreement. I generally do not sign agreements for product reviews, and the terms of this agreement contradicted my review guidelines. So I refused to sign and was prepared to walk away. Unexpectedly, Bluetti sent me the unit regardless, without requiring me to sign anything, which I did appreciate. But after returning the faulty unit, things became vague. Bluetti mentioned that they didn't have stock, that the repairs would take a long time, and suggested putting everything on hold indefinitely. I had already invested considerable time testing the unit and wasn't willing to just walk away without some resolution. After many emails and much chasing, Bluetti finally agreed to send me a replacement unit. However, they suddenly insisted that I sign the agreement before they would send the replacement, which again went against my review guidelines and didn't make any sense, as they sent me the initial unit also without signing. After more back and forth, and only when I was ready to walk away again, I finally received the replacement unit without signing the agreement. I believe it is important to share the details of this agreement so you are aware of what many other content creators likely signed before receiving a unit from Bluetti. Alright, let's dive into the issues I encountered with the Bluetti product review agreement. These are terms that really stood out to me and why I would never even consider signing this agreement. Number 1. Content control and modification rights. The agreement gives Bluetti significant control over the content I produce. Essentially, they can require modifications if they feel the review doesn't meet their expectations. And if those changes aren't made to their satisfaction, they reserve the right to terminate the contract. This is a major red flag because it undermines my ability to provide an honest and unbiased review. I might feel pressure to alter my content just to avoid disputes or even the risk of contract termination. That's not how I operate, and I believe it's not how any genuine review should be conducted. Number 2. Ownership of rights. Another big concern is the ownership of rights. The agreement states that the intellectual property rights, including copyright of the deliverables, would belong to Bluetti. This means I could lose control over my own content and might not be able to use it in the future without their permission. For someone who values creative freedom, that is a tough pill to swallow. The confidentiality clause is another point of contention. It restricts me from disclosing the details of the collaboration or any proprietary information without Bluetti's written consent. These could prevent me from being transparent with you, my audience, about the nature of the review and any potential biases. Transparency is crucial for maintaining trust, and this clause puts that at risk. Number 4. Product return and payment terms. The agreement also includes some pretty strict product return and payment terms. If I don't post a video by a specific deadline, I'm required to either return the product at my own expense or pay the full original price for it. This adds a financial burden and creates pressure to publish content even if my genuine assessment of the product isn't favorable. It's not the kind of pressure that leads to honest reviews. Number 5. Restriction on video title and description. Bluetti also requires specific hashtags and links to be included in the video title and description. These might seem minor, but it restricts my creative freedom and could impact the authenticity of my channel. I want my content to reflect my voice, not be molded by predetermined tags and links. Number 6. Dispute resolution. The contract stipulates that any disputes must be resolved in the jurisdiction where Bluetti is located, which could be inconvenient and costly for me. These could deter me from pursuing any legal recourse if there are disputes, essentially giving Bluetti the upper hand in any conflict. Ask me how I know. Number 7. Permanent publication. The agreement also requires that the video remains public permanently after posting. This means I wouldn't be able to take down or modify the content if new information comes to light or if I no longer wish to endorse a product. That level of control I'm not comfortable giving up. Number 8. Non-disclosure of agreement existence. Finally, and perhaps the most concerning, the agreement forbids me from disclosing its very existence without prior written consent from Bluetti. This restricts my ability to be transparent with you about the terms under which the review was created. It's essential for me to be open about my agreements I enter into, so you can trust that my reviews are genuine and unbiased. These are the key reasons why I would never sign such an agreement with Bluetti or any other company. It is important to me that you know what goes on behind the scenes
and understand the conditions under which reviews are made. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think these terms are reasonable? Would they affect your trust in a review? I'm keen to hear your opinions. Let me quickly show you the features of the Apple and Android app.
So the unit is online now. I'll log in. And it's fairly simple here, that's all. You can switch the DC and USB on and off. Turn it back off, the same for AC. Battery information. Unfortunately, no cycle count. That is really a pity. I'd love to see how many cycles that battery has. And then we have the advanced settings, for example, the charging modes, powerlifting, eco mode. So sleep, put that to 5 minutes, I did it before. And the advanced settings, which doesn't always seem to work, because I set that already back to 10 amp. I need 3 amp for the car, for my inverter. See where that works. Now it's 10 amp, okay. The only issue is that it doesn't refresh automatically. You see, I'm still logged in from previously, but and you think everything works, but in reality it probably doesn't. So let's have a quick look here. Say I want to change the amperage here to 10 amp. As you can see, it doesn't change it because I'm probably actually logged out, or the unit is off, and the app doesn't refresh it automatically or see that. So only if I now go out, pull down, I see that I'm offline. So that is a suggestion that automatically updates and locks yourself out from the unit if the unit is no longer active.
But overall, I think the app is good. I have no issues with it. And in particular, I like that it has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and that you really control the unit from anywhere as long as you have Wi-Fi. So let's have a quick recap what I like about the Bluetti AC200L. I like the very fast USB switchover times of 13 milliseconds. All ports are restricted to the front and left-hand side, so it's easier to place it in tight spaces. I like the 1200 watt, 12 to 145 volt, 15 amp solar MPPT controller. This gives you many options. I like that the built-in 2400 watt inverter can deliver up to 3000 watt continuously. The built-in fans are also quiet, especially in the silent setting. It has a built-in AC charger, so no brick required, but you do need the special AC cable. It comes with a 5-year warranty. The unit is also shipped with an MC4 solar charging cable, a 12 volt XT60 cigarette lighter cable, an AC charging cable, and an XT60 DC input cable. I like that you can charge it via solar and AC at the same time. The fast charging capability from 0 to 98% in just 1 hour is great. I also like that you have remote access via Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and the app for iOS and Android. You can also expand the unit with additional batteries. I unfortunately could not test these because I don't have an extended battery pack. So let's now talk about what I think could be improved. Besides the issue with the failed unit, overall I think it's a pretty good mobile power bank. However, I do feel the new power cable is a design flaw and should be firmly attached and podded like the vast majority of 220 volt cables. The usable capacity is a little less than expected, and while I have not come across one of these battery banks providing the advertised capacity, and that is from any brand, I think it's time for all these players to start advertising the usable capacity and not the theoretical cell capacity. I'm not a big fan of the 40 volt proprietary in and output, but that is only for my use case. Other people may have a use for it. I rather would have preferred a second cigarette lighter port. I think the USB-A port should be Q3 quick charging ports. No point having regular charging USB-A points nowadays. The unit has on top what appears to be a wireless charging pad, and I understand previous units did have wireless charging, but unfortunately the AC200L has no wireless charging included. One feature request I have is that one of the 100 watt USB-C ports is in and out, so that you could also charge the unit, say via the cigarette lighter car charging, and as well with 100 watt via USB-C. That would be a very neat feature, and it would double the charge speed in the car. One thing I haven't seen mentioned in other reviews is the temperature limitations, which could definitely be an issue during a hot Australian summer. The AC200L has an operating temperature limit of just 40 degrees, and that's a temperature easily reached in the Australian summer. These could potentially render the unit useless in such conditions. It's definitely something to keep in mind if you're camping and relying on the unit to keep your fridge or freezer running. The usual maximum operating temperature for LFP batteries is around 45 degrees, but some companies stretching that to 60 degrees. So this limitation could impact its usability in hotter climates. Overall, I like the app, but I would like to see a cycle count and an automatic refresh or log out after you close the app window. But otherwise, I don't really have much to complain about this unit. So who is this unit for? If you are looking for an LFP UPS and don't mind paying for it, this unit could be a good option. While you might end up paying for some functionality you don't use, it also doubles as an emergency backup device during power outages. For people with multiple cars who don't want a fixed LFP system, this unit could be a viable alternative, especially if you use a step-up converter to charge it. The AC200 would easily last a full weekend of camping, running a fridge, a few lights, and maybe recharging 1 or 2 devices. While it might seem expensive at first, if you calculate the individual costs of all the included features and the convenience of an all-in-one design, the value for money isn't bad, especially with a 5-year warranty.
So let me conclude. I reviewed at least, I think, 4 or 5 of these Bluetti power banks. The AC200, the EB55, I think, the EB3, then a smaller unit. I think at that stage it was called Max Oak still. And I never really had any issues with these units. As you can see here, the 2 smaller units I still frequently use. And product-wise, I always rated them pretty high. Probably a year ago, the EcoFlow took a bit over there because it just had better features, had higher output. EcoFlow was also one of the first to switch over to LFP, which I prefer over NMC. But in saying that, in general, no issue with the Bluetti products. And I also can't recall that I had issues with that I needed to sign strange agreements or so on in the past. But my recent experience with Bluetti wasn't too pleasant. Again, yes, 1 unit failed, but electrical things can go wrong. And with the second unit, I haven't had any issues, but I also have been very careful when I plug it in to 220 volt to not twist the cable. And in my opinion, that still, I reckon, is a design flaw there. But I in particular did not like how difficult it was for me to get a replacement unit, that after many emails, when they then finally agreed to send me a unit, they wanted to sign me this product review agreement, which I didn't sign in the first place. And that again cost a lot of effort to get a unit without signing that agreement. And that is the kind of behavior I really don't like. So let me know what you think in the comment section. You know, should every content creator just sign product review agreement, which explicitly tells him he can't reveal that agreement? I think plainly wrong. And I also think it does not comply with the Australian laws. There are also other things in that agreement which, you know, that they can request me to redo the video and stuff like that. It is all very dodgy. And I do not appreciate, again, that companies like Bluetti treat content creators like an extended marketing arm. I understand that probably guys who do that for a living and need to make money from it may be happy to sign these kind of agreements and to provide just these fluffy, whitewashed, marketing material, which I would call it. But again, that's not what I'm doing here. I'm only interested testing these products honestly and report about it, no matter whether they are good or bad. But keep in mind, everything in this video was only my personal opinion and experience, and it does not mean that you would have the same experience. So just take that as part of your research and make up your own mind. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, don't forget, leave me a comment in the comment section. And if you want to support the channel, especially at the current times, head over to Patreon, become one of my Patreon supporters. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And I hope to see you along the tracks.